This is SNN at 5.
The Supreme Court upholds corporate religious freedom in a defeat of one portion of Obamacare.
A very close call for a Suncoast deputy shows how important it is to follow that move over law.
And one Suncoast company is using new software it claims tops Google and Apple in one important area.
Good evening, I'm Amber Stidham.
And I'm Mike Stevens. You are watching the Suncoast News Network.
Well, there's a big news today on Obamacare from the U.S. Supreme Court. In a narrow 5-4 decision, the justices upheld the right to so-called closely held, mostly family-owned corporations to not provide birth control to their employees if the owners object on religious grounds. Steve Handelsman is at the Supreme Court with details and reaction. President Obama is now calling upon Congress to assist the women who lose their free contraception because of this decision. And again, the court sided with Hobby Lobby and against the Obama administration, saying closely held companies with longtime religious beliefs do not have to offer contraceptive coverage to employees, which is against their religious beliefs. And that ruling is being heavily criticized by several Florida groups, including Planned Parenthood. In a press conference today, Planned Parenthood of Southwest Central Florida and Central Florida, President Barbara Dravecki said they are, quote, deeply disappointed and troubled by the ruling. She went on to say the decision to use birth control should be made between a woman and her doctor without interference from her boss or politicians. Dravecki expressed disappointment in Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi for siding with corporations and says it's hard to believe that in 2014 we're still fighting about this.
This ruling is an America.
Well, according to Planned Parenthood, 99% of sexually active women use birth control at some point in their lives. Without insurance covering birth control, it can cost up to $600 per year. The Planned Parenthood PAC plans to contact lawmakers on every level to protect women's access to health care.
Well, our other important story today is the heat. It is really hot.
It's like jumping into soup outside. It is hot.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable, borderline unbearable, especially if you don't have AC. And we've been local weather in just a few minutes, Mike.
Justin, a driver crashes into a Sarasota County patrol car on I-75 over the weekend, leading to minor injuries to the deputy. But now state troopers are using the close call to bring awareness to a traffic law they say is violated way too often. SNN's Grant Boxleitner explains.
The weekend accident involved County Grant Boxleitner, SNN Suncoast News Network.
Well, the 77-year-old driver involved in Sunday's accident is facing a move-over violation, among other charges. Meanwhile, troopers issued 68 move-over law tickets along I-75 this weekend in Sarasota and Manatee counties. Well, time is running short for proponents of having a strong mayor system of government in Sarasota. The It's Time Sarasota group supporting the change in the city's charter have been collecting signatures for a petition to put the issue on the November ballot. But the group failed to gain the needed 3,500 signatures at the June 16th and 23rd City Commission meetings. But Chairperson Linda Holland says there's still hope they can put that issue on the ballot.
It's Time Sarasota determined that Monday, July 7th was the date. At 5 o'clock, we need to turn 3,548 petitions in to the clerk. If we don't meet that July 7th deadline, we're going to continue collecting the petitions.
As of today, the committee has collected just shy of 1,900 verified signatures.
One company is claiming their software does what Google can't, and it isn't Microsoft or Apple. It's Sarasota's own Beneva Flowers and Gifts. Floral Prodigy is a tool that helps Beneva Flowers track how effective their marketing is. While other analytics tell companies how long a customer was on the phone, they don't tell companies what action the customer took. Floral Prodigy integrates with Teleflora point-of-sales technology to show the average order value and repeat tendencies of customers calling the store, a huge benefit for independent flower stores.
They're afraid of marketing and advertising because they can't quantify and see the results. I think if more people saw the results of their advertising, we would be more aggressive, and if we did that, there would be less of a national presence going into our local markets.
Well, this tool is spreading nationwide to all local flower stores in the Teleflora network, and it isn't just limited to flowers. There's also talk of expanding the system to track advertising for restaurants. High-tech flowers right there.
Who would have thought?
I like it. Well, coming up next on SNN, the Suncoast News Network, there is no doubt it is hot outside. Like I said, it's walking into a bowl of soup. And those high temps are not just uncomfortable, they're also dangerous for your health. We'll tell you coming up.
And taking a look at our sky cam, you can't really tell from the pictures how hot it is outside. Take our word for it. Coming up in just a moment, Justin's going to be back with some more details with your weather first forecast on the Suncoast News Network.
Wait. You wait in.
Well, today was the first official work day for the new Shapiro Babies and Children's Medical Center in Sarasota. A ribbon-cutting ceremony took place over the weekend at the new Sarasota location off 17th Street and North Osprey Avenue. Sonny and Sam Shapiro started the $2 million project, which built the new 12,000 square foot building. Executive Director of the Glasser Schoenbaum Human Services Center, Jay Berman, says it's an important local cause.
Many children. There's roughly 5,000 kids in our area that aren't getting health care. If they come here, they can now get it, which saves the taxpayer dollars, keeps our community healthier, and helps everybody from parents taking off for work to kids being in school and not sick.
Well, Berman says more of Sarasota County's children will get medical care because of the new building.
With record temperatures over the weekend, many on the Suncoast are beginning to feel the heat, and that could be a serious concern for your health. Prolonged exposure to high temperatures and humidity can lead to heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Now, both of these conditions are caused by dehydration and overheating. Heat exhaustion can cause lightheadedness, fatigue, and body cramps, and this can lead to heat stroke, causing fever-like symptoms and can be fatal if left untreated.
You really should drink a quart of water or so, or at least a pint before you're out in the heat if you know you're going to be out there doing a lot of stuff, and then keeping up throughout the day.
Electrolytes like Gatorade can help. Water is the most effective when trying to stay hydrated. It's also recommended that you wear a hat, light colors, and thin, loose-fitting fabrics when you're going outside. And if you start to sweat excessively or feel dizzy, get indoors or under shade as soon as possible.
Driving in the car today, the AC was cranked up really high, and I had to look at it again and say, I don't feel any cooler.
Oh, I experienced it today too. It's just, it takes so long for the cars to cool off. It's amazing.
The test is the hair, and my hair always seems to fall. But yours looks great, and so does yours, Mike. Don't worry.
I have no comment about that.
So does yours. The comment should be so does
yours.
I
know. I'm
Thanks,
not.
Mike. That was
Okay,
a test.
forget it. I messed up.
Her hair always looks great, no
Justin
matter
gets
the
brownie
heat,
points.
humidity, or whatever. Yeah, it's been pretty hot. We all need to stay safe and be very mindful in this heat. It can be very dangerous. We're going to talk about it continuing, and a check on the tropics with the Suncoast News Network continues tonight. Stay with us. Forecast shows decreasing rain chances. Out more at 5:30.
The Aging in Paradise Resource Center on Longboat Key held a special seminar today. It was called Looking Beautiful at Every Age. Two Suncoast professional glamour consultants, Justin Irwin and Nicole Phillips, took the stage to teach tips and tricks of how to stay looking young and vibrant. Irwin says to use organic products whenever possible and know the basic tricks such as shaping and contouring. Well, Irwin says this is about more than makeup. It's about making women feel empowered and having fun.
Well, the British government is going to push for an end to the decades-long ban in the U.S. on importing Scottish haggis. Importing haggis has been outlawed in the United States since 1971 because the U.S. prohibits sheep lungs in food products. The Scottish delicacy is made with sheep's parts, including the heart, lungs, and liver, wrapped in a sausage casing or sheep's stomach. The UK's Environmental Secretary is expected to meet with Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack to make the case that haggis is indeed safe. A new doctor has declared LA Clippers owner Donald Sterling mentally fit. This new exam comes after two previous doctors found the opposite. The previous doctors were hired by the 80-year-old Sterling's wife, Shelley. Shelley Sterling claims her husband is mentally unfit to run their NBA team and has filed a lawsuit in the dispute over the sale of the team. She wants a Los Angeles court to uphold her deal to sell the Clippers to former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer for $2 billion. According to a source with knowledge of the situation, Donald Sterling's latest exam by a doctor arranged by his attorney found no signs of dementia and no lack of mental capacity.
I'm sorry, guys, but I cannot get the vision of haggis out of my head right now.
Maybe you should try.
Oh,
it's probably tasty, but the whole processing.
And the thing is, I'm Scottish, so I probably should have known about this, but
I tried it. I tried it once when I was over there.
And?
If you kind of mentally prepare yourself and not think about what it actually is, it's okay.
Well, it's kind of like chitlins, if you're familiar with that. I mean,
Right.
it's probably the same idea.
Right. Meanwhile, to something really tasty, the Rays, they've been hitting the ball really well, and they have Chris Archer on the mound tonight at Yankee Stadium, which is a really good thing, and I'll tell you why, coming up in sports.
Maybe
I don't
like
want to think about
haggis.
that. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, coming up on SNN, the Suncoast News Network, toasty, sticky, humid, boiling, however you want to describe it, it is crazy hot outside. Well, coming up, we'll show you what you need to know about the dangers of the heat and how to stay safe.
And it's another attempt to change the Sarasota government, but the activist group behind it is running out of time. We'll explain.
Well, the battle over the federal minimum wage is ongoing, but there's another wage battle that's been largely ignored until now.
We'll have that story and a whole lot more on SNN. We'll be right back.
Maybe 5:30.
Hello to you. Welcome back. I'm Mike Stevens.
And I'm Amber Stidham, and you're watching SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
Well, the record high temperatures we've been telling you about means most people are trying to avoid the sun. Staying outside in this weather can be downright dangerous. SNN's John Woodruff has more now on how to prevent heat exhaustion.
Last Friday in SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
And while a trip to the beach might seem like the best bet to avoid overheating, doctors say actually swimming in the Gulf, especially when it reaches temperatures in the 80s and 90s, won't prevent dehydration. So if you are planning a day outdoors, be sure to bring along plenty of drinking water.
And I never go anywhere without my water bottle. I just can't.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. If you're in the sunshine state of Florida, that's great advice.
And none of us are following the light colored clothing rule right now. So.
But the good thing is your hair looks fabulous.
Oh, well, see, that's all that matters.
I'm trying to make up for last time.
It's working, Mike, a little bit.
Well, we're going to continue with the heat, guys, as we head over the next couple days. So,
all right, thanks, Justin. Well, in a 5-4 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled for-profit corporations can claim religious exemptions to the opt-out of the new health care requirement to cover contraceptives for women. Now, this was the scene outside of the Supreme Court just after the ruling. They were chanting Hobby Lobby wins. Now, Hobby Lobby is the largest of the dozens of companies who sued over covering contraceptives for their employees. The owners are evangelical Christians. Contraception is among a range of preventative services that must be provided at no extra charge under the health care law that President Obama signed in 2010 and the Supreme Court upheld 2 years later. A Florida judge has dismissed a lawsuit filed by George Zimmerman against NBC Universal. Zimmerman sued NBC for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Seminole County Judge Deborah Nelson, who presided over Zimmerman's criminal trial, wrote in her order that there was no evidence that NBC News knew the information it published was false or that NBC had recklessly disregarded the truth. No, NBC News responded in a statement saying, quote, NBC News is gratified by the court's dismissal of the lawsuit, which we have always believed to be without merit. Now, full disclosure, the Suncoast News Network is an NBC News Channel client and a partner of NBC News.
A close call along I-75 for a Suncoast deputy illustrates the potential dangers of violating that move-over law. Sarasota deputy Chris Butler was making a traffic stop a mile south of Clark Road when a Cadillac hit the patrol car's side door. 77-year-old Robert Best was pulled over a short time later and now faces several charges. Troopers say too many drivers still don't obey the move-over law. It requires drivers to move over one lane and slow down to pass emergency vehicles with lights flashing along the roadway.
And this is why it is critical that we get the word out that people need to safely move over when they are approaching emergency vehicles that are working on the roadway.
During the Stay Alive on I-75 campaign this weekend, troopers handed out 68 move-over law tickets to drivers in Manatee and Sarasota. Highway Patrol troopers on the Suncoast are preparing to keep drunk drivers off the roads beginning tomorrow. FHP plans to conduct DUI Wolfpack patrols in Sarasota County throughout the month of July. Troopers are going to be picking select areas and aggressively patrolling the roads looking for impaired drivers and other violations. And they're gearing up for what's expected to be a busy holiday weekend.
I am here to tell you that paying for a taxi to come pick you up is far less expensive than dealing with an attorney, dealing with the loss of job, dealing with the embarrassment, and possibly dealing with you causing great bodily injury or death to another, or unfortunately, even yourself.
In Florida, drivers over 21 are considered impaired with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher. If you see a suspected driver under the influence, you can dial star 347. Well, Suncoast political activists are running out of time to accomplish a goal tonight, one that has been tried several times before. SNN's Melissa Warren joins us now from our newsroom with more details on how this group wants to change the way government works in the city of Sarasota. Melissa.
Well, they call themselves It's Time Sarasota, and they're looking for more people to join their cause. But if they can't do that in the next week, it could be just another failed attempt at changing the Sarasota city charter.
We believe we're going to continue collecting the petitions.
And as of today, the committee had gathered just less than 1,900 verified signatures, meaning they're a little more than halfway to their goal.
All right, so if they don't collect the required 3,500, that's it then, right?
Well, actually, their mission is to give the citizens of Sarasota the ability to vote in November if they decide they want to have a mayoral election. And there are several waiting periods in between now and the election that cause the July 7th meeting to be the most convenient. That is, unless the commissioners agree to call a special meeting to vote on adopting the ordinance that would allow them to add that item to the ballot.
All right, so there is, in theory, still a chance then.
Yes.
This could move forward. All right, Melissa, thank you. All right, still ahead on the Suncoast News Network tonight, GM again announcing another recall. This one, ignition switch, same kind they dealt with before. And it's also the same day its compensation experts announced a plan to pay victims and victims' families harmed by those switches.
Well, raising the minimum wage has crossed the tongue of many low-wage workers, but what about the tipped employees? Hear why not everyone is out to get a raise.
Those stories and a whole lot more are ahead on SNN, so please stay with us.
Now,
there's another massive worldwide recall of GM automobiles to tell you about tonight. It's related again to safety defects, and it comes on the same day GM announced a program to compensate victims who are hurt or killed because of another problem. Chris Clackham has that.
General Motors is recalling.
The battle over raising the federal minimum wage has been an ongoing one for quite some time now, but there's another minimum wage battle that has not gotten much attention until now. Tipped workers, like those in the food service industry, have a much lower minimum wage because of their tips. But what happens when they don't get enough tips to make up the difference? We asked local lifelong server and author of Serving for a Living, John Kolakowski.
Don't think it would make a difference. Because I think at the end of the year, I'd still make the same amount of money that I make now, whether I had it in my hourly pay or if I made it in tips. I think people would tip less if they thought we were making more money. So then that's just hurting the business owner.
Kolakowski thinks raising the tipped worker minimum wage could also hurt startup restaurants, which may not be able to afford the higher wages, while the server wage would probably remain the same regardless.
We are dealing with this record-setting heat. Normally, I'm the one in my house who tells the kids, turn the AC down.
Now you're like...
I was turning it up today.
Yeah, It's intense. It really is. And we have to be very careful in it. I think a lot of people, they kind of forget. Oh, it's Florida, it's hot, it's typical. But this is a little abnormal. And we really need to kind of slow it down. Keep in mind, we need to stay hydrated and take our precautions when it comes to this kind of heat. We're going to see just how long the heat and the humidity will stick around when I come right back with your 7-day forecast on the Suncoast News Network. More at 6. We'll see you then.
When I see those temperatures, I'm glad I'm indoors. Will ever feel like all the news that you read is depressing? Well, you may be right if you're one of the thousands who had their news feeds manipulated by Facebook. For 1 week in 2012, the social media giant intentionally put upbeat posts on some of its users' feeds and negative posts on others. It was a part of a psychological study Facebook conducted with researchers at Cornell and the University of California, San Francisco. Many online expressed outrage after learning about the study, which focused on 699,000 users. No one of the Facebook researchers who designed the experiment published a post yesterday apologizing. And the study found people who got bad news were slightly more likely to write negative posts, while those who heard good news responded more positively. The results of the study were published this month in the journal Science.
All right, well, Herald Tribune executive editor Bill Church now shares a reflection on veterans in this week's edition of This Is My Sarasota.
I recently spoke at a lunch for the Military Church
this is my Sarasota.
Patriotism. Certainly a lot of people in this country rooting for Team USA right now, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Team USA Soccer gets what could turn out to be a really good piece of news on Monday at the World Cup. I'll tell you what it is. Plus, I've got highlights from the knockout round coming up in sports. Meanwhile, the Rays, they are rolling. They have a guy on the mound tonight who loves pitching at Yankee Stadium. I'll tell you about that, the historic possibility, and more coming up in the next half hour in sports.
Strikes out. All right, well, next on SNN, the Suncoast News Network, having a positive self-image often helps to keep people motivated and feeling better about themselves.
Well, today, some local women got some free pointers from a few professionals in the glamour business. We'll show you as SNN continues.
Don't.
A Suncoast glamour consultant has worked on makeup professionally for live TV news and programs such as CNN and Fox News. And today, many women on Longboat Key, including SNN's Chrissy McClarty, had the opportunity to learn some of his tips and tricks.
Looking beautiful at every age is what we all would like.
Suncoast News Network. Love that. Well, Irwin says he is an advocate for organic skincare products, and he loves 2 locally organic stores on the Suncoast, Starflower Essentials and Lola Blue Living. How nice for those women. Wish I could have been there. And the guys are silent. Why are they silent?
Nothing. Nada. We have no idea. All right, that is it for this half hour of SNN. We have more news ahead.